Mary Thompson lived a quiet but meaningful life in the tranquil streets of Chicago, Illinois, where towering skyscrapers blend with quaint residential neighborhoods. At 65, widowed for over a decade, her weathered wooden house nestled on an oak-lined street, its front porch adorned with wildflowers, she planted simply to add color to life. With its creaky wooden steps, the house was her sanctuary amidst loss. Her husband John had passed away from a cruel heart condition, leaving her with a loneliness that only volunteer work at the local church could partially fill. But 4 years ago, her life changed forever when her grandson Alex was born. With his jet-black hair and solemn eyes like a young philosopher, Alex entered the world when his mother Sarah Mary's only daughter was drowning in chaos. At 28, Sarah was a young, ambitious woman, crushed by the harsh realities of life. She worked at an advertising agency downtown where endless overtime and pressure from her boss left her exhausted. Her marriage to Mike, an engineer, teetered on the edge of collapse. They argued constantly about money and who would care for their unborn child. Medical bills, rent, and Chicago's high cost of living suffocated Sarah. "Mom, I don't know what to do anymore," she once cried over the phone, her voice trembling. Mary, with a mother's boundless heart, didn't hesitate. "Please leave it to me, Sarah. I'll be there for you and the baby." And so when Alex opened his eyes to the world, Mary became his rock. At first, Sarah only asked her to watch him for a few weekends so she could rest and work. But those weekends stretched into a routine, an indispensable part of their lives. Mary drove her old Ford to the daycare every Friday afternoon to pick up Alex. With his tiny backpack, the little boy would run into her arms, shouting, "Grandma Mary, my favorite grandma." Those moments erased her fatigue, even the nagging joint pain of old age. Their weekend life was a private world filled with simple joys, but overflowing with love. They started with baking chocolate chip cookies, Alex's favorite. Mary let him mix the dough, his hands covered in flour, giggling as it flew everywhere. "Grandma, am I doing it right?" he'd ask, eyes sparkling. Mary would smile, wiping flour from his cheek. "Perfect, my love. You do everything wonderfully." Then they'd build pillow forts, turning the living room into a secret stronghold. Alex was the knight, Mary the queen, battling monsters, old stuffed bears. Laughter echoed through the house, banishing the loneliness she once knew. Beyond play, Mary taught Alex life's basics with infinite patience and love. She taught him to ride a bike in the nearby park, holding the handlebars as he fell crying. "Get up, my brave boy. It only hurts a little, then you'll soar like a bird." Wiping tears, Alex tried again until he pedaled his first circle, cheering joyfully. She taught him to tie his shoes, to cook perfectly scrambled eggs, with a pinch of salt and pepper, a simple dish filled with memories. When Alex caught the flu, Mary stayed up all night holding him, singing lullabies from Sarah's childhood. "I love you," Grandma Alex whispered in his sleep, melting Mary's heart. But behind these joys lay silent sacrifices few noticed. Mary canceled countless personal plans, coffee dates with friends, a dream trip to Lake Michigan, and even doctor's appointments because I'm with Alex this weekend. Her health wasn't what it used to be, back pain kept her awake, but she gritted her teeth thinking, "He needs me more." She saved every penny to buy Alex toys, cutting her expenses to help Sarah with bills. "I don't need much, dear," she once told Sarah over the phone, her voice gentle but emotional. Seeing Alex happy is enough. Yet Sarah didn't always see the value of those sacrifices. Busy with work and arguments with her husband, she often picked up Alex without a thank you. Sometimes she criticized Mary, "You give him too many cookies, it's bad for his teeth." Or, "Don't teach him those old games. Kids need technology nowadays." Mary swallowed the hurt, smiling, "Sarah, I want him to be happy." Deep down, she felt a growing distance. Sarah seemed jealous of the bond between Mary and Alex, as if it reminded her of her shortcomings as a mother. Mary noticed, but chose silence, believing that's what family is, sacrificing to keep the peace. Those years flowed like a calm river, hiding turbulent undercurrents of emotion. On Sunday evenings, after sending Alex home, Mary would sit alone, holding his photo and reflecting on her life. She'd lost her husband, her youthful dreams, but Alex was her light, her purpose. "You're everything to me," she whispered, tears rolling down her cheeks. Family drama isn't always loud arguments. Sometimes it's the silent pain, the unrecognized sacrifices, and the love that transcends all barriers. Mary didn't know that her sacrifices were about to face a storm. The distance between her and Sarah was growing, and one day it would erupt into a betrayal that forced her to confront herself. But for now, she carried on, with an open heart and boundless love. In her weathered wooden house in Chicago, Mary Thompson sat quietly by the window, the soft golden light of an autumn afternoon filtering through the curtains, illuminating faded photo frames on the wooden shelf. One photo showed Alex, her beloved grandson, beaming beside the green bicycle she'd taught him to ride. Her eyes lingered on his smile, but her heart was heavy with an unnamed feeling, the growing distance between her and her daughter Sarah. For 4 years, Mary had devoted every weekend to caring for Alex, but instead of bringing the family closer, those days seemed to carve a deeper, invisible divide. Sarah, now 32, was a single mother after divorcing Mike 2 years ago. Her life was a relentless cycle of endless meetings at the advertising agency, late nights meeting deadlines, and forced smiles for Alex despite her inner turmoil. Mary understood that Sarah was battling pressures she had faced as a young mother, being a parent, a partner, a woman proving herself in a harsh world. However, that empathy couldn't erase the hurt when Sarah treated her like an extraneous figure in the family story Mary had woven with love. When Sarah came to pick up Alex each weekend, the air in Mary's house thickened. Sarah would rush in, phone glued to her ear or eyes fixed on the screen, muttering curtly, "Thanks, Mom, I've got to go." No hugs, no grateful glances, just a coldness that made Mary feel more like a hired helper than a mother or grandmother. Once, when Mary suggested making pumpkin soup for Alex, Sarah frowned. "Mom, he doesn't like that stuff. Kids eat packaged food now. It's easier." Mary forced a smile, but inside a needle pierced her heart. She'd spent all morning grinding pumpkins and simmering broth to see Alex savor it. But Sarah's words dismissed her effort. The criticism didn't stop at small things. Once, when Mary trimmed Alex's nails, Sarah exploded. "Mom, why didn't you ask me first? You act like you're his mother." Her sharp voice echoed in the small living room, startling Alex, who looked up from his puzzle eyes wide with confusion. Mary stood frozen, clutching her apron, fighting the pain surging in her chest. She wanted to shout that she'd wiped Alex's tears, held him through fevers when Sarah was away, and told him hundreds of bedtime stories. But she only whispered, "I just wanted to help Sarah." Sarah turned away silent, leaving Mary feeling like a piece of her heart had been torn away. These moments grew more frequent. Sarah controlled everything about Alex more tightly, as if asserting her motherhood. She complained when Mary let him watch old cartoons, saying, "They're unsuitable for kids today." She corrected how Mary played with him, calling pillow forts too childish and insisting Alex needed intellectual activities. Each word was a small, deep cut, making Mary wonder if her love was becoming a burden. She told herself Sarah was just stressed, not intentional, but the pain simmered like a flame beneath ashes. One Sunday evening, after Sarah took Alex home, Mary sat alone in the darkened living room, the table lamp casting light on an old family photo. It showed her, Sarah and Alex, at Lincoln Park when Alex was 3, all smiling under summer sunlight. Now that smile felt distant. She recalled a time Sarah arrived late, leaving Alex to sleep over. He curled up in her arms, whispering, "Grandma, I want to stay here forever." Those words were her most excellent comfort, but now they reminded her she couldn't always be his haven. Sarah was building walls, pushing Mary outside their family's boundaries. The distance wasn't just in words. Sometimes Sarah ignored Mary's texts, even simple ones, asking if Alex needed a warmer coat. Once, when Mary called, Sarah answered irritably, "Mom, I'm busy, make it quick." Mary kept her voice steady, but her heart felt crushed. She realized that in Sarah's eyes, she was no longer the devoted mother or sacrificing grandmother. She was an inconvenience, an intruder in Sarah's motherhood. Each realization was a stone weighing on her chest, making breathing hard. Yet Mary never stopped loving. Every Friday morning, she cleaned the house, arranged Alex's toys, and bought his favorite chocolate chip cookies. She smiled when he ran to hug her, though her heart wrestled with joy and pain. She told herself things would be fine, that Sarah was just in a challenging phase, and that her love for Alex would overcome everything. But deep down, she knew this rift couldn't stay silent forever. One day, it would break open, and she'd face that her immense love couldn't force others to value it. Mary stood stepping onto the porch where wildflowers swayed in the autumn breeze. She gazed at Chicago's sky clouds, drifting slowly, wondering if she was losing herself in her effort to hold the family together. But Alex's radiant smile flashed in her mind, and she knew she wouldn't stop. Not for Sarah. but for Alex, her only light in lonely days. Little did she know a deeper wound would strike weeks later, plunging her into an emotional storm she wasn't prepared for. Autumn in Chicago brought a chill, but inside Mary Thompson's wooden house, the air felt heavier than October's winds. Dim light from the kitchen ceiling lamp fell on the dining table where Mary sat with her 7-year-old grandson Alex, who was engrossed in drawing a T-Rex on colored paper tongue sticking out in focus. Mary watched him. Her heart warmed, but a vague unease crept into her mind. For 4 years, she'd devoted every weekend to Alex, yet the cracks in her relationship with her daughter Sarah were becoming glaring like fractures in the house's old walls. It was a Saturday morning, weak sunlight filtering through the window, glinting off leftover chocolate chip cookies from yesterday. Alex was glued to his tablet as usual, watching noisy animated videos that gave Mary a slight headache. She disliked how the screen captivated him, his eyes' vacant fingers swiping as if hypnotized. Gently placing a hand on his shoulder, she said softly, "Sweetheart, how about we go outside for a bit? The park's lovely today with golden leaves all over." Alex looked up, nodding with an innocent smile. "Okay, Grandma." Mary smiled, relieved. She prides herself on Alex, who rarely resists her and is always eager to share simple joys. But then the door swung open. Sarah walked in, arms laden with grocery bags, hair disheveled, eyes tired. Upon hearing Mary's words, she froze, a cold glint in her eyes. Sarah said, "You're doing it again?" Her voice flat but tense. "I told you Alex can use the tablet as long as he wants. It doesn't bother anyone." Surprised, Mary kept calm. "I just thought some fresh air would suit him, Sarah. That's all." Sarah dropped the bags on the table with a thud, as if marking the start of a storm. "It's always like this," Sarah said, her voice rising, hands clenching. "You always think you know what's best for Alex. Do you ever ask me?" Mary felt blood rush to her ears, not from anger, but shock. She wasn't interfering, she just wanted to bring joy to Alex as she had for 4 years. "Sarah, I didn't mean that," she replied, voice trembling. "I just wanted—" But Sarah cut her off, voice icy. "You don't need to come next weekend. I'll handle Alex." The kitchen air froze. Alex stopped drawing, looking up at his mother and grandmother, eyes wide with confusion. Mary stood still, hand on Alex's shoulder, feeling the floor collapse beneath her. "What do you mean?" she asked, almost whispering, hoping she'd misheard. Sarah grabbed her keys, turning away without looking. "I mean, you don't need to watch him anymore. I'll find another way." She walked out, leaving the door ajar and a suffocating silence. Mary stood there, hands trembling, heart pounding, as if it might burst. Alex looked at her, voice tiny. "Grandma, why is Mom mad?" She smiled, hiding her pain. "It's okay, sweetheart. Mom's just tired. Keep drawing." But as Alex bent over his paper, Mary felt an invisible knife pierce her chest. 4 years of sacrifice, sleepless nights when Alex was sick, mornings preparing his favorite meals, canceling plans to be with him now, seemed erased by Sarah's words. What had she done wrong, suggested he play outside, or was her love for Alex so great that it threatened? Sarah Mary stepped onto the porch, sitting on the old wooden chair, watching golden leaves fall. The autumn wind was cold, but not as cold as the feeling inside her. She recalled Sarah picking up Alex, avoiding her gaze, speaking curtly. She'd thought it was temporary stress, that Sarah would see the value of her efforts. But now she realized this distance wasn't accidental. It was a wall Sarah built not to protect Alex, but to push Mary out of the family story she'd woven with her heart. Mary hugged herself, fighting tears. She thought of Alex, his smile when they baked together, how he hugged her and called her my favorite grandma. She'd done it all for love, not duty. But now that love seemed a crime in Sarah's eyes, she wondered if she should speak up and confront Sarah for answers, but she shook her head. She didn't want Alex caught in a battle. He didn't deserve that stress. That night, Mary lay in bed, the bedside lamp illuminating Alex's photo. He wore a red hoodie, chocolate frosting on his chin, smiling like the sun. She touched the frame, whispering, "I won't abandon you, Alex." But deep inside, a bad feeling grew. Sarah's words weren't just a moment of anger. They signaled a deeper rift, a betrayal Mary wasn't prepared for. And she knew, though she hated to admit it, that the days ahead would bring greater challenges, deeper wounds, and she'd have to find a way to stand firm on the fragile line between love and hurt. The days after the kitchen argument, Mary Thompson's wooden house in Chicago sank into a stifling silence. Gone were Alex's weekend laughter, the clatter of dishes as they baked cookies, and the sight of her grandson running through the living room. Once alive with joy, the house felt like an empty shell filled only with the autumn wind slipping through cracks and Mary's slow footsteps on the creaky floor. She tried to fill the void with daily tasks, watering flowers, dusting frames, rearranging books, but every corner reminded her of Alex, of days she thought would last forever. Mary hoped Sarah would call, even with a brief text to say she'd overreacted, that it was a misunderstanding. She checked her phone constantly, each ring quickening her pulse, but the screen showed only irrelevant notifications, supermarket ads, doctor's reminders, or church friends' messages, nothing from Sarah. More than words, the silence cut like a sharp blade into Mary's heart. She told herself Sarah needed time to cool off, but deep down she knew something had changed forever. One Thursday afternoon, as a fiery sunset bathed Chicago's streets, Mary sat with a cold cup of tea opening Facebook, a habit she'd picked up after her husband's death. She scrolled through mundane posts, a neighbor's dog, a weekend fair ad. Then a post stopped her cold. It was Sarah's, a vibrant digital invitation with balloons and cupcakes announcing Alex's 8th birthday party. The cheerful caption read, "Join us to celebrate," with over 30 tagged names. Relatives, friends from Sarah's yoga class, even Ruth, the neighbor. Mary had shared her casserole recipe, but Mary Thompson's name was absent. Mary stared at the screen, fingers trembling on the phone. She reread it, hoping she'd missed her name among the dozens. But no, the truth was clear as day. Sarah had deliberately excluded her from Alex's birthday, the day Mary had baked his first cake, held him as he blew out candles, wiped frosting from his cheeks. She clicked the comments, seeing bright emojis and "can't wait" messages. An aunt even wrote that Alex was so lucky to have such a great mom. The words hit Mary like a punch to the chest. She closed the phone, sitting motionless in the living room, feeling the air drained. That night, Mary didn't sleep. She sat in her old armchair, clutching a photo of her and Alex at Lincoln Park Zoo when he was 5. Both held ice cream, Alex grinning with chocolate on his chin, Mary gazing at him with love. She wondered what drove Sarah to this. Was it the tablet argument, or did Mary's closeness with Alex make Sarah feel overshadowed? She recalled Sarah's averted gazes, her corrections in front of others, as if Mary were an untrustworthy outsider. But excluding her from Alex's birthday wasn't just anger, it was intentional, as if Sarah wanted to erase Mary's role in his life. Mary called Sarah, hands shaking so much she nearly dropped the phone. It rang, but no answer. She left a message, voice choked. "Sarah, I saw the birthday post. I don't understand what's happening. Call me back, please." No response. The next day she called again, and Sarah answered, voice cold. "What is it, Mom?" Mary kept calm. "I saw Alex's party post. You're really doing this without me." Sarah sighed, that dramatic sigh Mary knew too well. "I need my own space, Mom. This year I want a small party, close friends only." Close friends. Mary laughed, but it wasn't enjoyable. "I've watched Alex every weekend for 4 years, Sarah. I changed his diaper and held him through nightmares. And now I'm not close enough for his birthday." Sarah was silent, then said softly, "Mom, I want to do things my way. You don't respect that." The words were a final stab. "Is this punishment?" Mary asked, voice dry. "It's not punishment," Sarah replied. "It's a decision." Then she hung up. Mary stood in the kitchen, phone in hand, feeling slapped. 4 years of sacrifice, of unconditional love, erased by one sentence. She didn't cry, not yet. Instead, a smoldering fire ignited in her chest, not anger but deep hurt mixed with resolve. She looked out the window, streetlights illuminating falling golden leaves. Sarah could control the guest list and build invisible walls, but Mary knew her love for Alex couldn't be erased. She sat at the dining table, touching the small chair Alex used. She thought of his scribbled drawings, calling her "my favorite grandma." But Sarah was rewriting the story, casting Mary as an outsider. Mary clenched her fists, hurt turning to determination. Sarah wouldn't let it happen silently if she wanted to push her out of Alex's life. Not with resentment, but with presence, with the love she'd poured her heart into building. The air in Mary Thompson's wooden Chicago house grew stifling after her call with Sarah. Her daughter's silence wasn't just an absence of words, but an explicit declaration Mary was no longer welcome in the world Sarah was crafting for Alex. The living room, once alive with her grandson's laughter, now held only the ticking of the wall clock, like the heartbeat of a house clinging to memories. Mary sat at the dining table, the old chandelier's light falling on her hands, hands that had held Alex's as he learned to walk, wiped his tears when he fell. Now those hands trembled not from age, but from a deeper pain, the betrayal by the daughter she'd sacrificed everything for. Mary couldn't stop thinking about Sarah's Facebook post, the dazzling birthday invitation with a long guest list excluding her. Each time the image surfaced, it felt like an invisible hand squeezing her heart. She'd spent 4 years of weekends as Alex's grandmother's second mother and friend, yet Sarah chose to erase her from his most special day. It wasn't just a missed party, but a statement that Mary's role in Alex's life held no value. She tried calling Sarah again, but got only a cold dial tone, no answer, no explanation, just an empty void. That night, Mary didn't sleep. She sat in her armchair, the bedside lamp illuminating Alex's photo on the shelf. He wore a green sweater, holding a toy dinosaur, smiling like autumn sunshine. She touched the frame, whispering, "I won't let you forget me, Alex." But the words couldn't soothe her pain. She felt erased from the family story, like a minor character crossed out of a script. Sarah could control the guest list and build boundaries, but Mary knew her love for Alex couldn't be removed. As dawn slipped through the curtains the next morning, Mary sat with a cold coffee staring at the leaf-strewn street. She thought of the years gone by, canceled friend meetups to pick up Alex, sleepless nights when he was sick, mornings preparing his favorite meals. She'd sacrificed not just time, but pieces of herself to see Alex happy. Now Sarah was rewriting the story, casting her as an outsider. Mary gripped her mug, hurt, turning to resolve. She couldn't just sit waiting for Sarah to change her mind. She had to act not for revenge, but to affirm she was still vital to Alex's life. An idea sparked like a flame igniting in ashes. She'd throw Alex a birthday party not to compete with Sarah, but to remind him and herself that her love couldn't be erased. It would be the day before Sarah's party at the church hall where she'd helped with bake sales. It would be a space of love, of presence, showing Alex she was still there no matter how far Sarah pushed her away. Mary stood walking to the small desk in the corner. She pulled out an old notebook, writing with a focus she hadn't felt in weeks. Dinosaur theme, Alex loves T-Rex most chocolate cake with vanilla filling. Invite church friends, close relatives, no one who'd make Alex feel pressured. She paused, looking at the list, feeling her heart beat normally again. This wasn't defiance. It was a declaration she wouldn't be erased. She'd throw a party without Sarah's permission, without anyone's approval, just with her love for Alex. She thought of the guests, not Sarah's flashy list, but those who valued her. Helen, the church hall manager, who thanked her for help. Clara, who'd seen her comfort Alex through fevers. And neighborhood kids Alex played with. She wouldn't invite Ruth, who'd accepted Sarah's invitation without a word. This wasn't about picking sides, but choosing those who saw her heart. Mary stepped onto the porch where wildflowers swayed in the breeze. She breathed deeply, Chicago's chilly air filling her lungs. She didn't feel like a victim for the first time in days. She felt like a woman with strength, with purpose. She wouldn't let Sarah define her worth or dim her love. This party would be her liberation, not from Sarah, but from the fear of being forgotten, from the feeling she no longer mattered. She returned inside, picked up the phone, and called Helen. "Helen, I need the church hall this Saturday. It's for Alex's birthday." Helen's voice was surprised. "Saturday? That's short notice, Mary." But she chuckled. "I know how much you love that boy. I'll make it happen." Mary's eyes stung, not from sadness, but from feeling seen after so long. She wasn't alone in this fight. Hanging up, she knew she'd crossed an invisible line from pain to action, hurt to liberation. Mary Thompson's wooden Chicago house, usually quiet without Alex, buzzed with new energy. The night before the fateful Saturday, Mary barely slept. The living room, once filled with her grandson's laughter, was now piled with paper boxes, ribbons, and decorations pulled from the attic. The table lamp's light revealed her wrinkles, but also a burning determination. After days of hurt from Sarah's silence and exclusion, Mary had decided to act not for revenge, but to affirm her love for Alex. The surprise birthday party she planned would be a silent declaration she couldn't be erased from his life. Mary began on Friday afternoon after confirming with Helen that the church hall was ready. She drove her old Ford to the local store, buying chocolate chip cookies, marshmallows, and colored paper for goodie bags. She chose dinosaur-themed wrapping, Alex's favorite, smiling as she pictured his delight. Then she stopped at the corner bakery where she'd ordered Alex's first birthday cake. She told the baker excitedly, "A chocolate cake, vanilla filling with a T, Rex climbing it." A young woman smiled. "Your grandson's lucky." The words warmed Mary as if someone saw her worth after days of dismissal. Back home, Mary set to work. She opened attic boxes, pulling out twinkling lights tablecloths from past holidays and a homemade banner from Alex's last birthday. She carefully cut paper into dinosaur shapes, pasting Happy Birthday, Alex on the banner in blue marker, his favorite color. She couldn't afford Sarah's lavish decorations, but she knew Alex valued the love in small details. At 2 a.m., she sat amid ribbons and balloons, tying goodie bags with inexpensive but thoughtful toys. Each bag reminded her she knew Alex best, from his favorite plastic dinosaur to the marshmallows he constantly begged for. Mary didn't send invitations via Facebook like Sarah. She chose a personal touch, texting those who mattered, Helen church friends, and Clara, who always supported her. Her message was brief but sincere. I'm throwing a small birthday party for Alex Saturday at the church hall. I'd love for you to come. She didn't mention Sarah or her pain, but the truth lay in her words. Some replied instantly empathetic. We'll be there, Mary. You deserve to be with him. Others were silent, perhaps wary of family tensions. Mary didn't mind. This wasn't a fight for allies, but her reclaiming her place in Alex's life. Saturday morning, Mary woke before dawn. She wore the beige sweater Alex called soft, like clouds, brewed coffee she didn't drink, letting the mug warm her cold hands. She reached the church hall at 6, hauling decoration bags and folding chairs. Helen was there, opening the door and helping set up tables. The hall wasn't fancy, worn linoleum, wobbly plastic chairs, but Mary was determined to fill it with joy. She hung lights, spread dinosaur tablecloths, and placed goodie bags. The Happy Birthday Alex banner hung crookedly, but she laughed, knowing he'd love it. As ordered, the cake arrived at 8, rich chocolate sweet vanilla filling with tiny plastic dinosaurs scaling the top. The smell of cookies and marshmallows mingled with the coffee Helen brewed. Looking around, Mary's heart raced, not from worry, but excitement mixed with freedom. For the first time in weeks, she didn't feel like a victim of Sarah's silence or betrayal. She was doing this for Alex and herself. No one could stop her. Mary drove to Sarah's to pick up Alex at the appointed time. Sarah, as usual, rushed him out, thinking it was a regular outing. Thanks, Mom, she said, avoiding eye contact. Mary nodded, took Alex's hand, and led him to the car. Where are we going, Grandma? He asked, eyes bright. Somewhere special, she replied, smiling mysteriously. On the drive, Alex guessed wildly parked Toy Store movies, and she laughed, feeling her heart heal. Mary opened the door in the hall to cheers from waiting guests, Helen, Clara, neighborhood kids, and church friends. Alex froze, mouth agape, then shouted, Grandma, a birthday party. She knelt, hugging him. All for you, Alex dear. He ran inside, touching balloons, hugging guests, his smile a sun banishing Mary's darkness. The party hadn't started, but she felt victorious, not over Sarah, but over pain, silence, and erasure. Today she wasn't just a grandmother, but the author of her own story. The small Chicago church hall, usually quiet on weekends, glowed with light and sound. The twinkling lights that Mary Thompson had hung the previous night reflected off the worn linoleum, creating a warm atmosphere, as if embracing Alex's joy. The tables, covered in dinosaur-themed cloths, brimmed with chocolate chip cookies, marshmallows, and goodie bags Mary had prepared. A chocolate cake with tiny plastic dinosaurs climbing at the center drew every eye. But for Mary, the true centerpiece was Alex, her beloved grandson, running around, his smile radiant as autumn sunshine, eyes sparkling with pure happiness. Mary stood in the corner holding a cup of apple cider, watching Alex dance among his friends. Cheerful children's music was played by an old speaker Helen brought, blending with the kids' laughter and lively chatter. Clara, Sarah's cousin, played tag with Alex, while Helen helped other children craft paper dinosaurs. Each guest today brought a small gift, not expensive, but chosen with care, like the colored pencils Alex loved or a plastic dinosaur he clutched tightly. Mary felt their presence was to celebrate Alex and silently affirm they saw her love and sacrifice, which Sarah had tried to deny. Alex ran to her face, flushed with excitement, tugging her hand. Grandma, look, I got a winged dinosaur. Mary knelt smiling as he held up the green plastic toy. She said, You're the best dinosaur expert I know, ruffling his hair. Alex grinned, whispering in her ear, This is the best birthday ever, Grandma. I love you so much. Those small, sincere words soothed every wound in Mary's heart. Days of pain, nights of anguish over Sarah's betrayal all faded in this moment. She hugged Alex tightly, feeling his warmth, and for the first time in weeks, she felt truly seen. The party buzzed with activity. The kids played a dinosaur quiz game that Mary devised to make Alex laugh. She told a story about a tea, Rex who danced disco, and the hall erupted when Alex mimicked its clumsy moves. Mary led him to the table at cake-cutting time, hand on his shoulder. "What's your wish, Alex?" she asked softly. He closed his eyes, pursed his lips, and blew out the candles amid applause. Mary didn't know his wish, but as he looked at her with shining eyes, she felt her dream come true, being with Alex an essential part of his world. Mary didn't stop guests from taking photos or posting online. Some of Helen's friends snapped pictures of Alex hugging her, beaming by the cake, or dancing with friends. They posted on Facebook with simple captions, "Alex's happy birthday." Mary knew these would reach Sarah, and she didn't intervene. This wasn't boasting or revenge. It was letting the truth speak, that her love for Alex was undeniable, that she'd always been there, despite Sarah's attempt to erase her from the family story. Alex hugged Mary again as the party wound down, holding a leftover cake. "Can I take this dinosaur home, Grandma?" he asked, showing the plastic toy. "Of course, sweetheart," she replied, patting his head. Clara approached, smiling. "I've never seen Alex this happy, Mary. You did something extraordinary." The words, though simple, fueled Mary's strength. She no longer needed Sarah's validation. Alex's joy, his sparkling eyes, and the presence of those who valued her were enough to make her feel visible. As guests left the hall quieted, Mary and Helen cleaned up stacked chairs and packed leftover cookies. Alex sat in a corner, drawing another dinosaur, humming a cheerful tune. Mary watched him, her heart full. This party wasn't just a joyful day for Alex. It was a declaration that she wouldn't be forgotten. She'd stood up, not with anger or resentment, but with pure love, a love she knew Sarah couldn't deny, no matter how hard she tried. Driving Alex back to Sarah's, he held her hand, recounting favorite moments. "Grandma, make another party next time." "I want more flying dinosaurs," she laughed, nodding. "I promise, Alex." Sarah opened the door, nodding briefly without asking about his morning. Mary hugged him one last time before leaving. Driving home, she felt a shift. She was no longer the grandmother swallowing pain for peace. She'd acted, affirmed her place, and it brought a freedom she'd never known. Mary lit the table lamp in her darkened house, gazing at Alex's photo. She knew Sarah would see the party photos and hear about Alex's joy. And though she didn't know what would come next, anger or silence, she wasn't afraid. She'd created a memory Alex would carry forever, her most significant victory. Sunday morning's light bathed Mary Thompson's Chicago house in soft gold, but the air inside was heavy, like before a storm. Yesterday's surprise birthday party for Alex lingered in her mind, his laughter, his shining eyes as he blew out candles, the freedom of affirming her place in his life. Today was Sarah's official party, the one Mary was deliberately excluded from, and she knew photos from her party were spreading. They were like pebbles tossed into a calm lake, creating ripples Sarah couldn't ignore. Mary sat at the kitchen table, clutching a cold coffee, waiting not for an apology, but for a confrontation she knew was coming. Mary didn't check social media or comments about her party. She didn't need to. The truth was told through Alex's smile, the presence of yesterday's guests, who stood by her not for conflict, but for her love for him. But at noon, a sharp knock shattered the house's silence. Mary's heart raced, not from fear, but from a sense that this moment would shape everything. She stood, took a deep breath, and opened the door. Sarah stood there, eyes cold, arms crossed tightly as if restraining anger. No greeting, no smile, just a curt statement. "You threw Alex a party." It wasn't a question, but an accusation. Mary met her daughter's gaze, voice calm but firm. "Yes, I did." Sarah's brow furrowed, lips tight. "Why did you do it without telling me? You knew it was my party, Alex's official one." Mary didn't back down. She stepped aside, gesturing Sarah inside. "If you want to talk, come in. I don't want to do this at the door." Sarah hesitated, then entered, her shoes clicking on the wooden floor. Mary closed the door, facing her daughter. The kitchen air was thick with years of unspoken words. "You crossed a line," Sarah said, voice trembling but sharp. "It was my son's birthday. You had no right to throw a party behind my back." Mary felt a smoldering fire in her chest, but kept her tone steady. "No right, Sarah. I've cared for Alex every weekend for 4 years. I was there when you were away and too busy to wipe his tears. Then you cut me out of his birthday without explanation. Did you think I'd sit quietly and let you erase me from his life?" Sarah blinked as if Mary's words slapped her. "You always do this," she replied, quieter but bitter. "You act like you know everything, like I'm not good enough to be his mother." The words stabbed Mary's heart, but she didn't falter. She stepped closer, eyes locked. "I never said you weren't good enough." I filled the gaps you left Sarah. I did it for Alex, for you, for this family. But you turned my love into something to punish. Sarah looked away, hands clenching tighter. I just wanted my own space, she whispered. To be a mother my way. Mary gave a sad smile. Your own space by cutting me out of his birthday, inviting relatives, friends, even neighbors, but not me. That's not space, Sarah. That's denial. That's betrayal. The word betrayal hung heavy like a stone dropped in a still lake. Sarah didn't respond, but Mary saw her shoulders tremble, as if the word touched a deep place. Mary walked to the kitchen table, picking up a photo from yesterday, Alex hugging her, beaming by the dinosaur cake. She placed it before Sarah. Yesterday, Alex smiled like this, she said, voice soft but resolute. He said it was his best day ever. I didn't throw the party to compete with you. I did it because I love him and won't let you take that away. Sarah stared at the photo, eyes glistening, but quickly hid it by turning away. You embarrassed me, she whispered. Embarrassed you? Mary's voice rose. You pushed me out of Alex's life. You made me feel worthless. If anyone's embarrassed, it's me for staying silent too long. The air between them froze with only the clock ticking on the wall. Sarah stood motionless, as if wrestling with herself. Mary's heart pounded not from anger, but from speaking truths long buried. She was no longer the mother swallowing hurt for peace. She'd stood up not to win, but to protect her love. Sarah finally spoke, voice softer. I didn't want it to be like this. Mary looked at her daughter, seeing the exhaustion of a single mother trying to hold everything together. But she didn't soften. You chose this, Sarah, she said. You can choose again, but I won't apologize for loving Alex, for giving him a day he deserved. Sarah didn't reply. She grabbed her keys and walked out, but not hurriedly like before. As she left, Mary stood still, feeling a weight lift. She didn't know where this confrontation would lead, but she'd spoken her truth, giving her a new strength, the strength of a woman no longer afraid of being forgotten. The days after the tense confrontation with Sarah Mary Thompson's Chicago house sank into an eerie silence, not the calm of peace, but the hush before a storm, as if everything awaited an explosion or resolution. The surprise birthday party she threw for Alex lingered in her mind, his radiant smile, laughter echoing in the church hall, and the freedom to affirm her place. But now, with the party's light faded, Mary felt the ripples her actions created spreading through family and community, reaching Sarah in ways she hadn't anticipated. Mary didn't check social media or seek posts about her or Sarah's party. She didn't need to. Messages arrived like birds carrying news from the outside. First was Clara, Sarah's cousin, who attended both parties. Mary, from her text. I have to tell you that your Saturday party was truly special. Alex wouldn't stop talking about the dinosaur on the cake about you. Yesterday, he seemed to be just pleasing his mom at Sarah's. The words made Mary sit, clutching her phone, her heart soothed and pained. She didn't want Sarah to fail. She only wanted Alex to be loved as he deserved. Then came a message from Margaret, a church friend. Mary, I saw your party photos. Alex looked so happy. I don't know what happened between you and Sarah, but you're that boy's heart. Don't let anyone say otherwise. The simple words were a cool breeze easing the months Mary felt invisible. She didn't reply immediately, just set the phone down, but inside a confirmation grew. Her action wasn't rebellion, but proof of an ineradicable love. Meanwhile, Mary couldn't help but think about Sarah's Sunday party, which she was excluded from. She wasn't there, but she pieced together the scene through messages and family stories. Sarah had gone all out, a rented balloon arch, a DJ with lively music, a catered feast. It was perfect like an Instagram photo, but something was missing. A relative said Alex, surrounded by gifts and music, looked tired. He held an uneaten cake slice, eyes distant, as if his mind was back at the church hall, where Mary gave him a day full of love. Stories spread. Clara texted again. Alex kept telling everyone, Grandma Mary threw my real party. He talked about the dinosaur toy as if it were a treasure. Another friend of Helen's called empathetic. I heard Alex tell his teacher about your party. He drew the dinosaur cake, saying it was his real birthday. Each story was a small hammer breaking Sarah's wall to keep Mary out. Mary didn't feel triumphant or smug. Instead, she felt seen and recognized by Alex, not just others, but also by Alex. Mary sat in her armchair, the table lamp illuminating Alex's photo from Saturday, him hugging her, beaming. The picture proved she'd done right, but a sadness crept in. She didn't want Sarah to be hurt, but Sarah had put herself in opposition not because of Mary, but because of her insecurities. In her quest for a perfect party, Sarah forgot what mattered. Alex didn't need glitz. He needed genuine love, which Mary had given for 4 years. One afternoon, watering porch wildflowers, Ruth, the neighbor invited to Sarah's party, stopped by. "Mary," she said hesitantly, "I didn't know you weren't invited. I thought you were busy, but Alex, he kept talking about your party. He said it was the best day." Mary smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Thanks, Ruth," she said softly. "I just wanted Alex to be happy." Ruth nodded, looking guilty, and left. The brief visit confirmed Sarah's controlled narrative was slipping. Mary returned inside, sitting at the kitchen table, touching Alex's photo. She thought of years spent sacrificing time, health, and dreams for him. She didn't regret it, but realized she'd let Sarah define her worth too long. Saturday's party wasn't just a gift for Alex. It was her reclaiming her voice, declaring her love couldn't be erased by a guest list. As ripples from her actions spread, she felt newfound freedom, not from defeating Sarah, but from conquering fear of oblivion. Mary stepped onto the porch, watching golden leaves fall. She knew Sarah faced the truth that Alex called her party his real birthday. But she didn't gloat. Instead, she felt deep calm. She'd spoken her truth not in words, but actions echoing in Alex and others. Whatever the future Mary knew, she'd rediscovered herself, her most significant victory. After the ripples from the birthday party, Mary Thompson's Chicago wooden house seemed bathed in a gentler light. Gone was the heavy silence of past days, replaced by a fragile peace, as if the storm had passed, leaving fragments to mend. Mary kept her routines, watering porch flowers, brewing morning coffee, gazing at Alex's photo on the shelf. But a profound change stirred within. The party she threw didn't just bring Alex joy. It opened a path to rediscover herself. She no longer sought Sarah's validation. She found it in Alex's smile and whispers from those around her. But she knew true family healing required one final conversation. On a cloudy Tuesday afternoon, as Chicago's sky darkened, Mary's phone rang. Sarah's name flashed, making her pause, mid-dusting, heart racing. She took a deep breath and answered. "Hello." Sarah's voice was small, hesitant. "Mom, can I come over? Can we talk?" Mary paused, then said, "Yes, come over." When Sarah arrived, she looked different. No anger or defensiveness, just a tired woman, hair loosely tied, eyes red from crying. She sat at the kitchen table, twisting her old wedding ring, and Mary sat opposite, waiting without pressing. "I'm sorry," Sarah began, voice trembling. "I don't know how to say it, but I was wrong, completely." Mary looked at her daughter, seeing pain she'd hidden for years. "Wrong about what, Sarah?" she asked gently. Sarah bowed her head, tears falling. "I was jealous of you. Whenever Alex came home talking about you, your games and your cooking, I felt like a failure. I'm his mother, but I wasn't there enough. Work, the divorce, everything drained me, and instead of thanking you, I pushed you away." Her confession was a river bursting, carrying years of pent-up emotion. Mary listened, her heart aching but filled with empathy. She recalled Sarah's late-night calls, voice weary from pressure, her attempts at motherhood swept away by life. "You're not a failure, Sarah," she said warmly. "You're a wonderful mother. I only filled the gaps, not to replace you. But you turned my love into a reminder of your shortcomings and betrayed me by cutting me out of Alex's birthday." Sarah looked up, eyes teary. "I know. I was angry when I saw your party photos, but deep down I knew Alex was happier there. He kept asking for you, saying it was his real birthday. I realized I tried controlling everything but couldn't control his love for you." The air grew heavy with unspoken past words. Mary touched Sarah's hand. Voice choked, "I forgive you, Sarah. I don't want war. I like this family healed. But you must know my sacrifices weren't meant to be dismissed. I lost my husband, my youthful years, but Alex is my light. You can't take that away." Sarah sobbed, hugging her mother for the first time in years. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I won't do it again. I need you. Alex needs you." That moment, with mingled tears, was an emotional flood, erasing the cracks betrayal had caused. Days later, change began. Sarah called Friday, voice brighter. "Come play with Alex this weekend. He's so excited." Mary smiled, her heart lighter. Saturday, she wore the old floral dress from Alex's first birthday and drove to Sarah's. When the door opened, Alex rushed out, hugging her grandma. "I missed you." Mary hugged him, smelling his baby shampoo, tears falling silently. Sarah stood behind, smiling, no longer defensive. They went inside, Alex showing Mary new drawings, a dinosaur labeled Favorite Grandma. Sarah stayed nearby, not controlling joining when Alex invited. They ate lunch, simple sandwiches filled with laughter. Then they walked to the nearby park. Alex ran ahead, chasing falling leaves, while Mary and Sarah strolled side by side. Mom, I've thought a lot, Sarah said sincerely. I feared losing Alex, but didn't see you holding this family together. Mary took her hand. We're all scared, Sarah, but family is sacrifice and forgiveness, not control. At the park, Alex called Grandma Mom. Push me on the swing. They forced him together, his laughter a symphony. Mary looked at Sarah, seeing new peace in her eyes, not perfection, but authenticity. A mother learning to share a grandmother, letting go of pain. Back home, Alex hugged Mary. Grandma, I want you here forever. She smiled. I'll always be here, sweetheart. That night alone in her house, Mary looked out the window at Chicago's starry sky. She felt true liberation, not because Sarah changed, but because she'd rediscovered herself. Her sacrifices were no longer a burden, they were the foundation of family love. Betrayal taught her strength. Now she was free, her heart open to new days. Their family story didn't end here, but Mary knew they'd stepped through darkness toward the light of genuine connection.